Hi, I'm Dr. Joseph Witt-Doering. The purpose of today's video is to learn how to submit a really good report of an adverse reaction to a health authority. You may be interested in doing this if you've had a rare adverse drug reaction which you do not believe is captured adequately in the labeling, and you want to do your part as part of the community to get the word to regulators so they can start enacting change. Before I go into this topic, I think it's good for me to tell you a little bit about my background. So, as you may know, I'm a psychiatrist. I've been doing clinical psychiatry for over 7 years. But after I finished my residency, I actually spent some time in the FDA, where I was a medical officer in the Division of Psychiatry. I worked heavily on safety while I was there, and this was doing projects such as evaluating complaints about drugs from members within the US. I would read probably thousands and nearly tens of thousands of adverse drug reaction reports on specific topics, on specific adverse drug reactions. I would write reports and I would submit them to my leadership for labeling change requests. And while I was there, I was successful. I was able to change some labeling to update the language and things like that. And probably one of the biggest problems that I had when I was doing this kind of work was the quality of the reports. And so I think it's really important for people to know how to do quality reports so that the physicians at the FDA can really make the most out of your experience and advance the science of drug safety for everyone. I've done some other things. I've also kind of volunteered at looking at citizens petitions, and I've read reviews for groups that have sent in petitions to have things updated. And I've looked at how the agency has analyzed them. And usually the biggest complaint is that there is just a lack of high quality post-marketing reports. So I'm going to show you how to submit one, and I'm going to show you what really needs to be in there for it to pack the biggest punch and be the most impactful for the regulatory reviewer. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and let's have a look at it. Okay, so what you would do is, this is just a Google search, and again, this is FDA based, this walkthrough. But if you're in the EMA, if you're in France, if you're in another country, you would just go to your health authority website there. Essentially, the process remains the same, but the website will look a little different. So, US based patients, you'd go to report a problem to the FDA. You would hit the online reporting form. And if you're a health professional, you hit this one. But if you're a consumer, you would click on this one. And then you kind of go through it. So let's click through some of these things. I'll probably do the less important things quickly. So, yep, hurt by bad side effect. Let's say disability or health problem as a result. Date that it occurred today. Tell us what happened. And okay, so in this section, you would want to describe concisely what happened. So I guess one thing that I was looking at recently was post-SSRI sexual dysfunction. And this is when people go on antidepressants, or they go on finasteride, or they go on isotretinoin, which is Accutane. It's that popular acne medication. And then they develop sexual dysfunction. And usually people will just recover from this when they stop the drug. But more and more recently, there's a high proportion of people who just do not recover sexual function. They have very low libido, and they even have things like genital anesthesia. So you might want to say something along those lines. So you say, taking Prozac for 20 years, always had a degree of sexual dysfunction, eventually stopped the medication. Now I'm continue to have sexual dysfunction, and it seems unusual. You would want to list any really key descriptions here that would help them differentiate it from an underlying condition. So, if you're on Prozac for depression, depression can be associated with low sex drive, but depression is not associated with genital anesthesia. So if you could say anything along the lines of, I feel like my genitals are numb down there, they're numb to pain, and any kind of information you could put down there to really distinguish it from what would be an alternative explanation. So if it's depression, people are going to want to be interested in that. So you might say something along the lines of, yes, it's true. I was not, I may not have been that interested in being outgoing when I was very depressed, but a couple of years into my treatment, I actually developed full-blown genital anesthesia. I can, or I it's not possible for me to ejaculate, or it's painful or something like that. These are new symptoms. These were not symptoms characteristic of my depression previously. So you want to list symptoms very clearly that are really unique to what you think the adverse reaction is. If there's any associated labs, you could put them there. I'm going to say it's a problem with the product. Okay. And let's keep on going. Okay, what is it? I guess it's none of these things. It's a drug. Let's call it Prozac. Eli Lilly. You could say you're taking a generic formulation of, that would be fluoxetine. Other identifying information. If you have this information, you could put it in. And this is mainly, if there's like a bad batch, if you got a bad batch of vaccine or a bad batch of some drug, if people include this information, it helps them find it. So you may, look on the box you got your drug on, and then put this information in there. Dates of use. Yep. To today. Oh, actually, no, because we're doing a sexual dysfunction example. Let's say we stopped it in April. And they might want to know when you reduce the dose, best estimate of duration. Actually, no, we've already done that above. Why was I using the product? I was using it for depression. Did it stop after I reduced the dose? No. Did it return after restarting? I didn't restart it. And then go next. Person's initials, JWD, male. Age, you put your age in there. Weight, ethnicity. Okay, so why are they asking these things? They want to know risk factors. So when they're looking, when we're looking at these things, are we seeing more of these reports from young people? Or are we seeing more of them from old people? Is this an adverse reaction that is more likely in the Hispanic, Latino population, or not? So that's why all of this information is interesting. Okay, list your known medical conditions. Please do not leave this blank. One of the most important things that a FDA reviewer is looking at is there an alternative explanation for this? So you need to be as honest as you can. You could say, I have depression, and I have cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure. I'm writing shorthand, but you'd write this normally. High lipids. And this is important because, if you have these things, sometimes, if we're talking about persistent sexual dysfunction, cardiovascular disease could be the cause of this. So you need to be as honest as you can. Now, it doesn't mean someone's going to completely write it off, because if you put in a really good description that you're having full-blown general anesthesia, I'm sorry, that's more of a neurological problem than a cardiovascular one. So please provide the most accurate information that you can. List of allergies, other important information about the person. Okay, this isn't as relevant to this may not be as relevant to the one about sexual dysfunction, but actually, sorry, no, it is. So, no, I take that back. So, other relevant information, and they list alcohol and drug use. So, let's say, for instance, you had a suicidal reaction to a medication, say doxycycline. It's an antibiotic that can, in rare cases, cause behavioral problems. You would want to write in this section, no alcohol or recreational drug use in greater than 3 months, no over-the-counter medications. Okay, what else could make someone suicidal. You need to think kind of what the reviewer is going to be interested in. Um, no relationship problems, stable employment, and because if you're looking at someone who's becoming homicidal, agitated, you want a full picture. Is this person a drug user? Is this person on alcohol? Does this person have some kind of instability in their life which could account for them being aggressive? And this is also really important here. So anytime a drug reviewer is assessing an adverse reaction, you want to put all the medications in here so they can confidently say that they've looked at all possibilities. So, okay, so take lisinopril, like this is a blood pressure medication, and simvastatin. So, and if you leave it blank, then they're not going to know. They're going to say this is an incomplete case. This person may have been on, some other medication that that could cause this. Okay, and so you keep on going, and now we're towards the end. You would put in your name and your address, and you would and fill out a few more questions. But these are less important. So I'm going to stop there. So maybe that's just helpful to kind of see the platform and to see how these reports go in. So here are the top things that I really want you to do when you have an adverse reaction. Describe it. You need to inventory all of the symptoms with as much detail as possible. You need to be completely honest about things that could be alternative explanations. Honestly, the more information you provide, the better. So list all your medical conditions, list all the drugs that you're taking. Also, when you list the drugs, list were you taking them when the adverse reaction started. And then if you're having a behavioral adverse reaction or something that could be accounted for by contextual stresses in your life or something like that, if there were none of those things, gave an antidepressant to my daughter, doing well at school, very popular, you would write there, no clear contextual stresses that I believe could account for these symptoms. Boom. And so I hope this gives you some insight into how the process works and how you could be a better public citizen and you could help advance drug safety. So thank you for your attention, and I hope this video was enjoyable.